for those of you who have come in late or did miss the starting of the recording, our special guest today is Dr. Alex Eshaghian, and he is the medical director and founder of AE Skin in Encino, California. Dr. Alex, not only have you been a participant and a student in multiple certified aesthetic consultant programs, but you have also been on our faculty. All right. And, you know, I am proud to say that I do know in the early stages, I believe 2 years in a row, you had won the coveted award, I think regionally and nationally, as the Med Spa of the Year. How are you going to handle, well, number one, education in these different conferences, and number two, the CMEs, and when they do open up, when are and where are you feeling about traveling to some of these different conferences and networking?
That's a good question. As you mentioned, a lot of things have been canceled or postponed. You know, the last one I was at was, I believe, at the end of January or beginning of February in Las Vegas. It was the AmSpa conference, and that was the first time I went to that one, and it was actually fantastic. And that was before all the coronavirus stuff has been going on, but I was actually still very careful. I wore a mask in the airplane, and that was in Las Vegas, as are many of the conferences, which I personally like, because Las Vegas is a nice place and it's very close to me. It's less than an hour flight, so that makes things really easy. And now I think the next one that I'll likely be attending is the LAMCA Los Angeles Multi-Specialty Cosmetic Academy.
That's the one with Dr. Kayam Karimi, correct?
Correct. That's the
right.
one with Dr. Karimi. It was originally scheduled, I believe, in March, and now postponed to August. And that one is here in town, so that's really easy for me to go to. I know they have restricted the number of attendees because of the coronavirus, and a lot of the things are happening virtually. So that one I'll probably attend. You know, I'll probably be wearing a mask for safety, and after that, I don't know, there are some other ones that I was planning to go to, such as the Aesthetic Show and Vegas Cosmetic Surgery, which were in June and July, and I believe they're postponed till later in the year. So I don't even know if I'm going to go. We'll see. In terms of CMEs, hopefully I can get them from the conferences that I do attend. But there are always a number of online resources. And
right.
to be honest, I don't think they're going to be so strict with CMEs this year, given everything that's gone on. Usually doctors get all their CMEs for a year by going to one conference, and so many of them.
Right. Now, it's interesting you mentioned those specific conferences, because in the aesthetic cosmetic, you know, we have seen one another and we attend, and I see some of the participants I know and we've met. They've either been in our class that Mara and I moderate and teach for the Certified Aesthetic Consultant program. That's from the Aesthetic Show. And then we also have participated, like you said, the Vegas Cosmetic Surgery Show. So the Vegas Cosmetic Surgery Show that was initially scheduled for June has been postponed until September 9th through 11th, the same time as the American Academy of Facial Reconstructive Plastic Surgery Conference. And the one in July that is usually held at the Wynn, which is the Aesthetic Show, has been pushed off until November. Now, what's very, very interesting as well is that we ended up getting a notification today that the American Academy of Oral Maxillofacial Surgery, which we were participating in October, has now gone virtual. Also, the 5CCs in Barcelona has now gone virtual. So are you doing the virtual conferences? And then I want to get into, you know, how your office, when you closed, when you reopened, how you're doing it with your staff. So let's jump right into that, as a matter of fact. When did you officially close for the COVID pandemic?
So in response to your previous question, I don't know what I'm going to do about the virtual conferences. I actually hadn't heard of it until you mentioned it now, but we'll see. In terms of closing, I think it was officially on March 20th. On March 19th, there was an announcement by the mayor um, that everyone needed to be closed except for essential businesses. So we basically had a day. I met with my staff on Friday, March 20th, in the office and said, you have 24 hours. You can go to the office and have the staff collect their belongings and things like that. So at that point, the last day we saw patients was March 19th.
And when did you reopen?
We reopened, I think the date that they wanted to start was May 15th, which is about 2 months. And I remember actually I was discussing this with you because the local officials were very vague in terms of whether or not we can reopen, and they said physicians' offices, but they didn't specify what kinds, and it was very difficult to get a real answer. So I was talking to a lot of people, going online on the city's website, and I know you even contacted them, and we got emails. But basically after the 15th, and now I have it posted on our door, I think they officially gave people permission to start around May 8th or 10th or so, but they didn't announce that until May 15th or 16th. It was retroactive, which is, I don't know why they did that.
Right.
But we started after that. That was a Saturday. I think we had a couple of patients on that Saturday, but officially full time that following Monday, which I believe was around the 19th.
You were very proactive because I know we work together on this. What should you tell patients? How did you post it on your website to allow them to know what you were doing, and so that you can take a virtual consult, you can take a phone call from a patient. So people just didn't call you and they just thought you're closed. People didn't go onto your site and not even know the status of what's going on. And you even have some in your email signature today about some of the statuses and what to do. Could you share a little bit about that?
Yes, so that was a lot of those things I learned from you and from Mara. I remember you had webinars from the very beginning. One of the recommendations is to have something at the top of the website, which I did, that says we're currently closed, and then I had updates. So you can click on that link, and there were updates once a week based on what was going on. Also, we sent emails, we put it on our social media, I put it on my email signature, and these are all great ways to announce things. This is kind of an unfortunate thing to announce, but if you have an event coming up, such as when we have our holiday party annually, we do these kinds of things too. Also, when we decided to reopen, we wanted to make sure that everyone knows that it's safe. We have permission, so we posted all that stuff on our website, on our door. There are a number of policies that were recommended by local officials, and as you've seen, I've created a list of new protocols, procedures, and policies that basically go above and beyond all of those things. So they say, everyone has to wear a mask. We actually wear the N95 masks. So I'll show you. I actually have it here. Let me. Sorry. Whenever I touch the mask, I always sanitize my hand before and after. So I'll show you that. And then we wear the N95 mask, which makes it very difficult to breathe. This is actually a KN95 one. And then we also have a face shield that I put on. So I'm wearing this whenever I'm treating the patients. I'll take it off for now. And that makes everyone feel more comfortable. We do a number of other things, like we have hand sanitizer everywhere. Everyone that comes in has to be wearing a mask when they come into the building. We have a series of intake questionnaires. We take patients' temperatures. If they have any symptoms, we have them wait a couple of weeks. And we've actually had a number of patients tell me that this is like the first time they're going anywhere after being at home for 2 months. Or some people have been going to multiple doctor's appointments and they said, we're the cleanest place ever. And I think that's important. Safety is the most important thing. They want people to be 6 feet apart. We do it at least 10 feet apart. We have people in separate rooms. So in our reception area, although we have enough space for 5 patients to sit, we usually have 0 patients because
I've always said it's not a matter of what you think. It's a matter of what your patient thinks, because it's the image that you're giving off to protect you from you in spite of you, right?
yeah.
So how are your staff handling this? Because, everyone is doing this because of the quote unquote new normal. And I don't even like using that term anymore because, there was a lot of new normal of taking your belt off and taking your shoes off right after 9/11. Is that the new normal, or has that become the expected normal? And that's the expected normal. So why don't you share with us, if you can, how and when, how long are you going to continue to do this? I mean, even after this is all over, is it going to be something that you're going to continue to do, or will it wane off just like every other program that we practices put into place?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that you taught me was that the only consistent thing in business is change. And this is one of the things that happens. But as you mentioned, sometimes there are certain events that create major changes. Like 9/11, there were a whole bunch of new security issues. I remember you could just drive up and walk to the gate at the airport, but it's not like that anymore. And now with the coronavirus, we always keep things clean and sanitize everything and wear gloves anyway. Uh, so we're continuing to do that, but now we're doing the additional things like the masks and the face shields. And I even have patients wear their masks, for example, when I'm doing Botox, because I can go around it in the upper face and only take it off if we're doing the lower face, something like that. Uh, but I think this is going to be continued in terms of the masks and all these precautions for a while until there's a vaccine, probably. They're looking at, obviously numbers of cases and hospitalizations and things like that. And that's, going to fluctuate. But I think once there's a vaccine, I think we're going to scale back a little bit, at least the masks and the face shields and taking the temperatures, all that stuff. Hopefully that will be sooner rather than later. And the staff, you mentioned staff, they want to be safe. They were concerned at first about coming back because they've seen how many people have been affected, and it's obviously unfortunate. But they're very comfortable knowing that I'm taking additional precautions for their safety. I'm providing them with N95 masks. Also, what we're doing is they're not working full-time, they're working part-time to limit their exposure. That also gives them some time to take care of other things with family, or if they have
Right.
kids.
So somebody told me that you were looking for investors that you have come up with something which was a 30 gauge 6-foot needle. Is that true?
That would be interesting. It'll be a little hard to control, but I've seen these robotic things that do surgery from a distance, which may be interesting. I saw cartoons about that on social media. Funny.
Right. It might bend a little bit, but it could be effective, right?
Yeah.
So going forward, um, how do you think that it's going to be hiring staff? Because, you were one of the lucky ones when we were speaking, there was that the PPP. for your payroll protection, and we were talking about furloughing, and we were talking about laying off, and people were getting their $600 federal, and they were getting, their unemployment. And some people didn't want to come back to work because they felt that they could make more money, especially in the state of California, that they could make more money on unemployment, and they were in fear that if they came back, they couldn't reapply for a year, for example. And we figured all of that out. But most importantly, we just got news today, by the way. We have multiple clients in the state of Texas. And we just got some information today that the governor in Texas has restricted some of the non-essential procedures in the Houston area and in the Dallas County area, which includes all of Dallas. And I won't mention all of the different counties that have been restricted. Montgomery County in Texas was not. But maybe you could give us a little bit of a tidbit that, okay, all well and good. And now Governor Newsom in the state of California, all right, is allowing you to come back. I don't listen to politicians except for when they tell us what we can and can't do legally, but I listen to scientists, all right, because I really want to know what is really going on scientifically. And I don't want to make this political at all. What are you doing to prepare? And you've heard me lecture many times preparing for the unexpected, but it was for death, it was for fire, it was for flood, it was for disability. I've never lectured on pandemic because in my lifetime, I never thought I would see it. That was always the polio, that was always the different SARS, things that happened somewhere else, but not with me. But now that's a true and a reality. Whether it comes in my lifetime again, I don't know. I hope to God not. But what are you doing to prepare in the event that you have phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, or it happens again?
Well, it's very difficult to prepare for something like this. However, now that it already happened, at least we have the experience, so we know what to expect and we know what to do. I think just kind of the same kinds of things, the unemployment. I'm sure the government will come up with some sort of PPP or funding, especially in California. They like to do that. I know in California, they'll take care of employees if they want unemployment. That's never an issue really in California. So I know they're not gonna force you to close without at least giving you funding.
What suggestions do you give other doctors that are starting out, that don't have the experience that you do, that have never gone through the wave? They are living it, for example, but they're new. They're either finishing med school, they're either finishing a fellowship, they're where you used to be 10 years ago. What advice could you give them?
Let me try to think. It's very difficult to start on your own. You have to. I think the best thing I wish I could have done at the time was work with a consultant, because if I had you when I started, a lot of things would have gone much more smoothly. I got an MBA in a non-traditional fashion. It's a master's of being around, just by my personal experience. So I've learned all the business stuff myself, but that's outstanding. Learn as much as you can. You go to these conferences, and those CAC courses were fantastic, and I know they have those kinds of programs at other conferences. So those are really valuable. Just setting up the business, because physicians coming out of training, they know how to do the medicine. It's the non-medical aspects, so they don't know how to set up an office, get rent, hire people, all sorts of things.
What mistakes did you make along the way in a million words or less? Could you give anybody that's going to watch this as an experienced cosmetic surgeon who has been around the block a couple times and you just moved into an office, you built a brand new office, what now? What to be year, 2 years now?
Now,
Yeah.
whenever you try to do that, it's important to plan. And even when you do plan, there are still things that you may have overlooked, and that's okay. But just kind of plan for things, talk to different people to get advice. I had to talk to attorneys for legal advice, my accountant for other advice on starting a corporation, consultants on hiring, getting an office space. Just talk to as many people as you can. Go to conferences, learn about the business, and also go to the conferences to learn about the other techniques. I've learned a lot of new techniques, and to network, learn about what are the new devices, because there's always something new. And if I don't offer it, other people are offering it. And I have patients that come in and ask me about things that I don't offer, so I need to know at least what that does to be able to tell them what the difference is between that and what I do offer. So just learn as much as possible.
Now, I know that this COVID-19 has taken a toll, basically shut practices down for 25% of a year. All right. Now, they've also told me that when they've come back, they're busier than they've ever been because they've had this bolus of people who have been waiting to get. And of course, I'm waiting. I'm getting an emergency Botox attack pretty soon too if I don't get to see somebody. Right. However, do you think, and of course, you have this bolus of patients that come in all of a sudden, but then it eventually will level out. Do you think that you'll ever make up for the loss over the 3 months that you've encountered?
3 months is a long time. I don't know that we'll make it up this year, but maybe in the future we'll ramp things up. They say you want to increase by 10% a year. I don't think that's going to happen this year, but you want to increase 10% more than, I would say, 75% of the year, because that's how much we were in the office, taking off 25%.
So it would take 2.5 years just to break even. If you're off 25%, 10% increase takes 2.5 years to get you there. What do you see as the future of cosmetic medicine, knowing what you know now of what you've seen, all the different radio frequency devices, all of the different laser devices and cosmetic medicine? When I first started out in cosmetic medicine and in our practice here in Florida, and for the sake of a disclaimer, please allow me to make the disclaimer, I am not a physician. Only because when I say that my practice, I was a partner in a very, very large dermatology facial body plastic surgery practice here in South Florida. I was not one of the doctors. I am not a physician. I spent $12,000 a month in yellow pages. Now, I know everybody's laughing, but it brought millions of dollars of business. Google was a word, all right? Now it's just part of business. What do you see for the future of cosmetic medicine, both on social media, digital marketing, because I know you're very active, and the new different types of procedures in the horizon?
Yes, I think social media is very big. When I started, it was basically Facebook was the new thing, and now people say, "Oh, you're so old if you use Facebook," something like that. Now, Instagram has become very big, and the new thing is TikTok, which I haven't really done so much, just because I don't think the demographics align with, my target audience. But I think social media is the big thing of the future and the present, and it's always changing. Even when you talk about Instagram, I have someone that helps us with our Instagram. She was telling me to put something on my story or my Instagram live, and one day there was no more live. So you can't. You used to be able to do a live video and have it up for 24 hours. and now that feature is not available. Instead, it goes to IGTV, and that was maybe a few weeks ago. So things are always changing and evolving, so you'll have to adapt to those things. There are a number of new things actually in the last couple of weeks. One was that the filler Voluma, which is a hyaluronic acid filler by Allergan, makers of Botox, which has been approved for the cheeks to lift. About a week or two ago, it was approved for enhancement of the chin. So people that have a weak chin, you can place it here and it projects it forward. Before it was approved, I've been using it years myself off label in this area, so it's not really something new. However, because it's approved, now they can advertise it, and there's all sorts of marketing capabilities, and people can learn about it, and we're going to get some more people in. And there was a new device that was just released in the past week or two by Cyton. I use a Cyton laser myself. The BBL, which is broadband light, it's an IPL or intense pulse light photofacial technology. They created a new version called Hero, which is high energy rapid output. I don't know all the details about it yet because I haven't seen it. They haven't done webinars and things like that yet, but that's a new thing. I know obviously the energy is going to be higher. The repetition rate is going to be 4 hertz instead of 1 hertz. So you can basically move 4 times as fast or do 4 times the amount of pulses in the same amount of time, which is fantastic. And they also released another wavelength that's non-ablative, 1927, I believe that's a thulium, and that's been used by Fraxel, and now it's available through Cyton, which is basically non-ablative fractional resurfacing. So there are always new devices, new fillers that are coming out. There's a new neuromodulator that came out last year, Jeuveau, and there's going to be another one that's coming out soon by Revance, and there's going to be all sorts of stuff.
Now, that one's been in the makings forever and ever and ever. You know, it's just a matter of getting out there, being exposed to it, because a lot of the sales reps, business development managers aren't allowed in your offices. So you just have to you read up on it a lot. You're just going to have the advice of colleagues, have the advices of consultants, and, you know, get yourself out there digitally, get yourself out there on the web, constant SEO, organic marketing. You know, it changes all the time. I remember it was pigeon and penguin and all the different animals in the zoological gardens that they used to come up with. But, you know, you mentioned Facebook, and, you know, you mentioned TikTok and Instagram Live and Instagram TV. You know, don't kid yourself. I remember you on AOL and MySpace. Okay. So and it evolves. Every day is something new. You know, I want to wrap it up with, if you have any vision to the future, because you've got a long way to go before you retire. Where do you think you want to take your business, and how do you think you can get there?
I think basically just continuing what I'm doing. The most important thing is just making sure the patients are happy, because that's kind of the goal. And if you do that, then, you know, everything else will work itself out. So continuing to do that, continuing to learn about new techniques and technologies that are coming out, like the ones we discussed, doing new things, and just making people look better, feel better, and get more patients. You know, that's how you get more patients, and get word of mouth and happy patients. And that's basically what leads to success. So I hope to continue doing that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would like to personally thank you for taking the time with me today to share some of your pearls, taking the time with me to be able to share some of the things that you've done over the course of all these years. You are correct. You were one of my first clients when I started this full-time. I started it, our consulting company, back in 2010 as a side hustle, but we really didn't take it full-time until about 2013. And you were one of the first that truly believed in us. You have been a client of ours all that time for everything from HR to policies and procedures and protocols to accounting to workers' comp auditing and things like that. And just knowing that there's an additional resource for that, I really thank you. And it's been an honor and a pleasure to have been associated with you all this time to help you through a lot of these good times and opportune times. Do you have anything you'd like to say in closing?
I wanted to thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here with you. It's always a pleasure to speak with you and see you in person in this case, even if it's virtually. I appreciate the opportunity and basically wish everyone good luck in these times and success and happiness and health.
Thank you. Dr. Alex, I thank you once again. I look forward to seeing you. I don't know when. The only time I get to see you is I do a FaceTime or I do a recording like this. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for taking the time. In 2 more weeks, you'll be receiving information. We're going to be having, my next guest is going to be Sam Peak, founder and CEO of Incredible Marketing. Another wealth and resource of information. This is being recorded. It will be live. You can get this on Zoom, and it will be available on our website after it's properly edited. So once again, thank you, everybody. Get back to normal thing. And I have one thing in common with everybody. Please stay safe during these challenging times. Good luck. God bless.